Hey people, Fernando doing another video for the more survivalists. Stay for this video. If you live in the United States specifically, this is something that is very relevant for your situation. This is what happened in East Palestine, Ohio, as you probably know already. And it's a lot more serious than just this isolated disaster in Ohio. It just goes to show that there's a policy. There is a decision that has been made by which we will not prioritize lives, citizens, people over money. We will allow companies that own these petrochemical industries, the transportation, the logistic, the train companies, all owned by the same elites. They don't give a damn. They will kill as many people as they want as long as they maximize profit. This is a disaster of huge proportions. All of this toxic plume that you see here, this is lives. This is thousands of people that will die, not tomorrow, not next week, but months, years from now. I know this because I actually did research similar to this back in the day when I was in university, and we did a study of a river in Buenos Aires, the Riachuelo River, very contaminated, very polluted. I mean, not a disaster like this, but more of a slow burning type of disaster, a river that was being polluted by the companies and the industries nearby, dumping their chemicals in that waterway. And the study was, I mean, when they run the numbers, when I did that, it is amazing. The amount of people, cancer, birth defects, respiratory problems, skin problems, allergies, babies, pregnant women that don't get to term and their babies die inside their wombs. All of that is mathematical. The way in which it's not even proportional. It's just exponentially going up the closer you get to the source of contamination. Talking about not eating burgers because cow farts are causing climate change. Are you kidding me? And you look at this and look the other way and talk about something else? Yes, exactly. Just as you heard me say. If you look at CNN right now, CNN this very moment. Now we all know CNN is like the official elite media outlet, right? So as to what is it that I want you to think about right now? Well, think about Biden makes surprise visit to Ukraine. Who gives a fuck? This is something that would have been used 12 months ago, 6 months ago. As of right now, pretty much every president has been in Ukraine already, at least once, if not twice or 3 times. It is not worthy of news when you have such a disaster going on in your very own country. Not only that, Biden makes surprise visit to Ukraine. He's so brave. Australia tourist killed in a shark attack in waters off New Caledonia. Oh my God. Heartbreaking. Visitor accidentally shatters Jeff Collins' balloon dog sculpture. Oh no, that is worthy of news. But the huge chemical disaster that you have in Ohio, no, that is not something that we should be worrying about. In fact, if we look at some of these commie outlets, Ohio train derailment separating fact from fiction, the toxic incident, conspiracy spread quickly after train derailment. This is such bullshit. The idea that this is not a serious disaster, it's laughable. Look at how the water is looking as of right now.
It's like chemical is coming out of the ground. Can you come here and let me just show this to people. I don't know if you're going to see this on camera, but watch this. Just see that chemical pop out of the creek.
Nah.
This is disgusting.
Oh, he's against the beautiful rainbow. That's an inclusive chemical in your water, you bastard. You're against the LGBT community. No, come on. That's the way these people are acting. They're acting as if this is not a big deal. You know why they burned this? You probably don't know this, but when you have a disaster like this, the actual procedure is you have to remove all of the contamination, all of the train wreck. You have to remove all of that. Then you're supposed to dig up. You have to dig all of that contaminated earth and transport it elsewhere. Now, it's super expensive to remove all of that wreckage that you won't have any other way but to deal with that. But removing the earth, digging, transporting that contaminated earth, and even worse, finding a place that is willing to take a mountain worth of contaminated, cancer-causing waste. Who will put up with that? How expensive is that? Well, let's just burn it and put it all in the air. Let's just burn it all and send it into the atmosphere and into the water. We could not give less of a damn about any of this, so why even worry? That's the way they think. That's what they're doing with this. If you look at some of the reactions from people, some of the, this one is actually...
FEMA is now sending a team to East Palestine, Ohio. And this comes more than 2 weeks after the train derailment threatened the small town. Governor Mike DeWine came under criticism for not requesting federal aid sooner.
Why would you?
And I had a rash all over the side of my face, on both sides, and all over my chest.
It's probably nothing. Come on.
Take a look at these photos of her this morning after coming back on her property. The rash all over her face, neck.
Your face is falling apart. That's not a big deal. There's no contamination.
My boyfriend Chris also had a rash down his left side.
A coincidence. It could happen to anyone.
And I mean, to this moment, right now, I have just a really low-grade, constant headache.
You probably need to eat something, like candy. This is...
Live nearly a mile from the derailment, and where Norfolk Southern released the toxins into the air 2 weeks ago. But their issues clearly persist. But with FEMA finally coming in with all...
This will be years. Years from now, you will have children born with defects. You will have people with cancer. The cancer rates, you will be able to measure it years from now. It will be spiking the closer you get to this mess. You cannot live in this place anymore. Trust me on this. When you have this level of contamination, you're a fool if you stay anywhere close. You probably need to get, downwind. Downwind, you have to get like 500, 1,000 miles from this place. At least I wouldn't want to be closer than that. I wouldn't be living 500 miles downwind from that place. Based on what I know and having done actual serious research on the impact of pollution on this level, I wouldn't want to be, and talking about living a mile away from this place, you're just sitting in the middle of a chemical disaster and living in constant exposure in the air, in the water. Now, the air will eventually clear because that's how it works, but the water, the ground will be polluted each time. Each time you vacuum, you move around and you work in a field. You work with animals and you have this level of toxicity in the ground. This is something that you will have to deal with for decades.
About a lot of things out here. They're worried about the air and also the water, not just for themselves, but also for their animals.
You're worried about the water, not for yourselves, which you're drinking. No, we're worrying about the poor animals. Sucks for the animals, but I would be worried more about you. This is the water you're drinking too.
About getting independent testing done.
What's going to happen, moving forward, we're just going to have to keep testing, and
the way this works is that you may test it today, it may be fine today, it may be fine a month from now, but the way this works, the way this contamination keeps sipping and going through little cracks and, how it, capillary works and it goes through the earth, it may be a month from now, you may have water that is absolutely contaminated, yet now it's perfectly fine. This is a disaster area. That's how these things work. And also notice, rural little house, community, farm, this is the place where a lot of people would think, oh, this is ideal. This is where I bugged out. I'm out of the awful city. I'm safe. No, you're not. There's nowhere where you're safe from something like this.
Kindred Spirits Rescue Ranch is only about a 10-minute drive from East Palestine. They just brought nearly 80 animals back.
How many?
Drive from East Palestine. Rescue Ranch is only about a 10-minute drive from East Palestine. They just brought nearly
10-minute drive from the disaster area. You should be bugging out, lady. You should be bugging out. This is the kind of thing that a prepper, a survivalist does in objective analysis of risk assessment. You have a train, you have a railway, you know that there's dangerous chemicals being transported there. You bug out when you have something like this.
80 animals back to the property after evacuating.
You evacuated 10 minutes away. Okay, that's poor preparedness right there.
Study done on the air quality, and the air quality is fine here.
Now they're working.
Yeah,
Ohio, where the
earth quality is
Still
fine.
concerned about a lot.
What about the water? What about the ground that you're standing on?
It comes right straight from East Palestine.
The water at this point, and what might be, in the soil.
It comes right straight from East Palestine.
And what might be, in the soil.
Tested.
My biggest concern is actually, the water at this point, and what might be, in the soil.
It comes right straight from East Palestine.
Leslie Run flows through Kathy Reese's backyard in Negley, Ohio. Her biggest concern is also the water after seeing dead fish in it. A representative with the Ohio...
Nah, they just die because they you know what? Too much cell phone. These little animals were just spending too much time online. That's why, guys, it's real. It's serious. This is the kind of thing that you prepare for. You prepare for these disasters. And when you have something like this, you have a decision to make. You can stay here. That's on you. Now, if you stay in this place with this level of contamination, then don't be surprised if your loved ones start dropping with serious diseases in a rather short term. You make a plan, you have your plans, and this is the kind of stuff I talk about all the time. So survival skills, plan A, B, C. A plan so as to bug out within my same community. Where is that I have family, friends, someone they can stay with for a while, out of town, out of state, even out of country. Those would be the options I would like to consider. And if I have to end up making that decision, well, so be it. You also need, yes, nuclear, biological, and chemical. We talk so much about biological, let's talk about chemical. This is the only thing that protects you from something like that. When you're evacuating and you have a poisonous cloud after you, this is the only thing that's going to be protecting you. You need something that will stop those vapors, those fogs that are poisonous. That's what you need to stop it. It's not a particle filter anymore. You need these ones, the ones that have activated charcoal, like your 40 millimeter NATO canisters, or well, these ones are a little bit more modern. But anyway, you need something like this. Just particle filter, it's not enough. And you need a vehicle. You need the fuel to get out of there in a moment's notice. Train derailment, you get the hell out of there. Folks, it's going to be all for now. Subscribe to the channel. Share this with people that are serious really about real world preparedness, which is what we're seeing here. Take care.